What's going on, guys? NBA 2K rating recap for January 29th, 30th, and 31st. We're going to knock out the rest of the month, Thursday through Saturday's games. There are about 23 of those, I think. So we're going to start off with the Thursday games, 8 of those. I got a little sidetracked. I had another friend who had a birthday this weekend, so I had to celebrate with them. Philadelphia 76ers. They moved to 25-21 on the year with a 113-111 win over the Sacramento Kings. Tyrese Maxey, 40 points, 8 assists, 12 of 18 from the field, 4 of 9 from 3, 12 of 13 from the free throw line. Had the game-winning layup with 1.3 seconds left. I had actually dropped his rating by a point prior to this game, and this game essentially brought him back up to a 93. He had been struggling with his shooting, scoring a little bit less compared to the past couple months, as Joel Embiid has essentially ramped up his scoring load over the course of the year. He had 37 as well in this one. I have him up to a 90 overall, +1 from where we had it before. 2K Sports also knocked him up to a 90 in their most recent update. In November, he was averaging 22. December knocked that up to 26, and then in January he's averaged 28 points per game. So he's essentially kind of back to where he normally was, scoring like a point per minute, things like that we expected from him when he was at an MVP level. He also played 39 minutes in this game, so that's the other thing that's really been a good sign for him. It's not the scoring load, it's the fact that he can actually get through these games and stay healthy. We'll get to Paul George in just a second. We're going to come back to the Sixers in a little bit. Going over to the Kings, they dropped to 12-36 on the season. 7-game losing streak for them. Don't worry, we're going to go back to them also in this video. Russell Westbrook out for this game, so Dennis Schroeder got the start, 27 points, 5 of 9 from 3. More on him later on in the video. DeMar DeRozan starting this one at the 2. He had 25 points, 8 assists. Zach LaVine came off the bench. Washington, they go to 12-34 on the season with a 119-99 win over the Bucks. Sorry, Keyshawn George, he led the way with 23 points, 5 assists. Alex Sarr, big double-double, 16 and 17. Bilal Coulibaly, essentially starting at not point guard, 8 points, 10 rebounds for him. We've talked about this over the past 2 weeks or so. Teams are more or less eschewing, at least lower-end teams have been eschewing having a traditional point guard altogether, just maxing out on all their wings. Trey Johnson sprained his ankle in this game, only played 11 minutes, so the Wizards did actually run a point guard in the second half. Bob Carrington started the second half, 13 points, 6 assists. Milwaukee, they dropped to 18-28, 4-game losing streak for them. I believe that's 2 losses in a row to the Wizards as well. They're done for the year. They are not getting back into the play-in picture, which may be a big part of why they are starting to ramp up the Giannis talks. They may see the writing on the wall. Miles Turner, he's come on pretty big of late. 21 points, 14 rebounds. He had another big game earlier in the week. So now that the season is over, great time for him to showcase himself for other teams. Bobby Portis, 19 points as well for Kyle Kuzma. And then Pete Nance had 13 points in 20 minutes. He's really established himself as a rotation player for the Bucks. Essentially their backup center right now as he's playing over Jericho Sims. Miami, they moved to 26-23 with a 116-113 win over the Bulls. Bam, 20-12 in this one. Norm Powell had 21. Jaime Jaquez, 19-10-6 off the bench. Chicago, they dropped to 23-25. Josh Giddey was out for this one. Hamstring tightness, which he just returned from a hamstring injury, so may have come back a little too quickly. So it looks like he's going to be sidelined for a little bit longer. Trey Jones also out, so there were a lot of minutes available in the backcourt. Ayo Dosunmu essentially starting at the 1, 23 points off the bench. Or sorry, no, he started in the following game, but he had 23 points off the bench in this one. Kobe White did start in this one. Kevin Huerter, 15 and 10 for him as well. Played 33 minutes. Jalen Smith, he had 11 points in only 15 minutes. He left the game with calf tightness, so we'll see if he has to miss any time with that. Vucevic, 15 and 10 in 37 minutes. The Bulls don't have a backup center if Jalen Smith has to miss any time, as Zach Collins still in a walking boot, and he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So another lost season to injury for Collins. It's looking like not a great extension by the Spurs, although they were able to move him off onto the hapless Bulls. Going over to the Rockets, they moved to 29 and 17 with a 104-86 win over the Atlanta Hawks, absolutely overwhelming them on the glass. 31 points for KD. Alperen Şengün, 9 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, was only 3 of 14 from the field, but he did grab 7 offensive rebounds, probably a bunch of his own misses. Josh Okogie also adding 7 offensive rebounds as well. It's pretty big for a 2-guard. 22 offensive boards for the Rockets in this one. And the Hawks, they were without Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu for this one, so they were lacking a lot of size. Vit Krejci started this game in what was essentially a 4-guard alignment. He had 9 points. Christian Koloko was the starting center in this game, 6 points, 7 rebounds, 26 minutes. CJ McCollum led the way with 23 off the bench. Corey Kispert also 17 points in 31 minutes, highest output as a Hawk. The former Wizards combined for 40 of the Hawks' 86 points. The trade looks good for them in that regard because Trae Young wasn't giving them anything this year, and he hasn't given the Wizards anything either yet as well. Charlotte Hornets, they moved to 21 and 28 on the year. They have won 5 games in a row. A big part of why Milwaukee is not going to sniff the play-in this year, because Charlotte's just a better team than them overall. They beat the Mavericks 123 to 121. Con Knippel in a duel with fellow Rookie of the Year competitor, Cooper Flagg. He had 34 points, 10 of 16 from the field, 8 of 12 from 3. I think those 8 threes are a season high, but I didn't check. 6 for 6 from the free throw line as well. But he wasn't the most impressive rookie in this game, even though that was a phenomenal line. Brandon Miller, 23 points. LaMelo, 22 and 9. They are playing a lot better with him this year. Something like +5 net rating when he's on the court. Miles Bridges, 17, 8 and 8 as well. They probably need to get a more defensive-minded 4 if they're going to stick with the LaMelo, Brandon, Con Knippel tandem. The Bridges maybe could have played a little higher level of defense in his younger 20s, but now he's more of just an offensive player. So he is somebody who could be on the move at the deadline. They are looking for a first-round pick possibly for him. I don't know if Tijon Salon, he's not even really in the rotation since Grant Williams came back. I don't know how much he figures into their long-term plans, if he might be that defensive-minded guy. So far, hasn't really worked out that way. Dallas, they dropped to 19 and 29. Cooper Flagg returned from a 1-game absence, and he started at point guard in this one. Had a career-high 49 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. 20 of 29 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Also included a game-tying ISO 3 late in the game. Most points ever for a teenager in this one. Lots of contested shots for him in this game, lots of driving middies and floaters. So we do have a little bit of a badge update for him. I brought Float Game and Deadeye up to silver, as well as Shifty Shooter, which is, off dribble jumpers and stuff, and then Lightning Launch as well, which is essentially isolations is what I use to measure that. Float Game again is partly the mid-range stuff, and Deadeye obviously the contested shots. A lot of those badges tend to go kind of hand in hand together since the skills kind of overlap. Uh, so not bad for, again, a 19-year-old. PJ Washington, he had 14 points in the starting lineup, but was 6 for 19 from the field. Najee Marshall was out for this game, so Mavericks still a little short-handed overall, as they really have been for most of the last calendar year, I would say. Denver Nuggets, they got a little bit more whole. Oh my God, this didn't save. Um, oh well, I'll update it. This is still Thursday. Jokic returned on Friday. Nuggets moved to 32 and 16, 107 and 103. Jamal Murray led the way with 27. Tim Hardaway Jr. 25 off the bench, 7 of 11 from three. Peyton Watson bouncing back with 19. Aaron Gordon, we finally got the timetable on him. That was a little delayed because the Nuggets got stuck in a blizzard, so the plane couldn't take off for them to actually get back and for Gordon to get checked out by the doctors. So he'll be out 4 to 6 weeks with his hamstring strain. Jokic returning on Friday. He will remain awards eligible. He can afford to only miss 2 more games in order to qualify for MVP, All NBA, things like that. All NBA would be totally fine. I don't think, he's missed enough games where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should be getting MVP over Jokic, as long as he doesn't miss any time, because he's played the vast majority of the year. I think he's only missed like 2 games or something this year. So for MVP, it doesn't matter, but the All NBA teams are going to look silly without Jokic. So hopefully, just for most NBA fans, I think would want to see Jokic earn another All NBA selection. He obviously is that level of player who deserves it. Nuggets overall, though, they were 10 and 6 without Nikola Jokic overall, so they absolutely held the fort down, even though they had a ton of other injuries as well on the roster. Peyton Watson really establishing his star. He's going to go for a lot of money in free agency this summer. There is a possibility that he does get moved at the deadline because the writing is in the wall. The Nuggets are not going to be able to pay all of these guys. I would rather just stick with Peyton Watson for the rest of the year, see what they can do in the playoffs, and then once you get to the offseason, you figure out who you're going to move. Most likely, Christian Brown, Cameron Johnson, they have not played. Christian Brown's dealt with an ankle injury all season. He has not been at the level that he was at last year, and Cam Johnson's been a pretty big disappointment. It's really been Peyton Watson that's filled the shoes of Michael Porter Jr. rather than him. So I think ideally they would probably prefer to move him into the starting lineup in Cam Johnson's role. We'll see if they're able to dump him as they dumped MPJ last year. Yeah, Nuggets though, they're really solid this year. I want to finish off the rest of the ratings on this team. I still got to knock out like Bruce Brown. Jonas Valanciunas needs an update. He's played well. I actually don't even have a rating in for Zeke Naji. He's also played a little bit better. So yeah, I still have a little bit of work to do on the Nuggets. Going over to the Nets, this was another one of those games. I guess 107-103 over the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think I mentioned that, but another game against my former Nugget, Michael Porter Jr. He had 38 in this one, 38 and 10 to be exact, versus former team. 7 of 15 from 3. Heavy 3-point shooting load due to the absence of Yegor Adoman. So Nolan Traore, he got the start in this one, had 9 points, 4 assists in 30 minutes. This was his first career start. Only 1 for 3. 0 for 1 for 3. 0 for 1 from 3 for Traore. So there's a big difference in his playing style and Doman's. Ben Seraph, he played 18 minutes off the bench in this one, scoreless, 0 for 4 from the field. So there is a little bit of a gap between. He's definitely the worst of their 5 rookies so far this year. Also, that's a terrible portrait that he's got. Jesus Christ. Drake Powell, he returned, had 7 points, played 20 minutes off the bench in this one. So he's dealt with some knee issues, but also hasn't really established himself as like the starter or anything like that. So Trey Mann back in the starting lineup. He had 12 points in 29 minutes. Going over to Phoenix, They moved to 29-19 on the year, still winning without Devin Booker. 114-96 over the Detroit Pistons, so very high quality win for them. And it was behind a career high 40 points for Dillon Brooks, 12 of 22 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, 10 of 12 from the free throw line. I was perusing Pete Toll's comments section on his latest YouTube video with breaking down the official 2K roster update. And one of the comments was that they can't believe Dillon Brooks dropped by. He dropped in overall rating. A big part of that was because prior to Brooks's offensive explosion over his last four, only two of those games actually qualified for that particular roster update, as he's had this 40-point game, for example, was on the 29th, which is after obviously the roster released on the morning of the 29th, so this didn't factor in, obviously. But prior to that, like for the entire update cycle, he only shot 39%, and he only shot 40% on twos overall. So he is an extremely streaky player. Sometimes the mid-range shots go in, sometimes they don't. He's not a great finisher either, so it's really whether or not the jump shot is falling for him. And he had the 4 worst shooting games of his season in like a 10-day period during January. So he was absolutely brutal offensively. Because I do these over day, that was something that just obviously came to mind for me more easily than it does for, we're all prisoners of the moment. When anybody has a big game, it's our first reaction to be like, oh, this guy should have gone up. But it is an 82-game season, and the way that, stats and everything work is, you'll have your low moments and your high moments, and everything kind of balances out. So Brooks went down in the last update, but his recent offensive explosion, that's going to bring him back up in the 2K roster for sure. That's just how things, just how the math of ratings work and everything. Grayson Allen, 24 points for him. He did a good job filling in for Devin Booker in this one. He wasn't so great in the previous one, but again, these things smooth out. Sometimes you'll shoot well, sometimes you don't. 1 for 2 on twos in this one, 4 of 12 on threes. He was 10 of 10 from the free throw line, 10 free throw attempts versus 2 2-point field goal attempts. So he was drawing a lot of contact in this game on pretty much any time he did, attack the rim. He drew a foul for the most part. Detroit, they dropped to 34-12. On the year. Cade Cunningham, 26 points, 7 assists, but 8 of 22 from the field. I do have a lot of concerns about what his efficiency is going to be come playoff time. They are running pretty much everything through him, kind of similar, like an Allen Iverson type of strategy. I think they do need to balance out the rest of the offense a little bit more. If they are going to make some noise in the playoffs. Jalen Duren, for example, 23 points, 13 rebounds, was 10 for 11 from the field in this game. They should probably look to get him a little more involved like he was earlier in the season, because, that was really efficient. 10 for 11, obviously extremely efficient. He could have afforded to get a little more touches, considering Cade took twice as many field goal attempts and hit 2 fewer shots. So I do think that the two-man game between these guys needs a little bit of work. Minnesota, they moved to 30-19 with a huge 123-111 win over the OKC Thunder, their conference rivals. 26 points for Anthony Edwards in this one. Jaden McDaniels, 21 points, 5 of 5 from 3. Wolves overall were 22 of 47 from 3 in this one, 47%. Thunder, they dropped to 38-11, no longer the invincible juggernaut that they were earlier in the year. Isaiah Hartenstein made his return, came off the bench in this one, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 18 minutes. Obviously, teams have been working in players off the bench typically after injuries this year, but it is worth keeping an eye on because Chet Holmgren has played well at the 5, and that is his natural position. I do think that they are going to have to move off of Hartenstein this off season, just because he makes too much money to really, he's going to be one of the first casualties for when they have to worry about the aprons and stuff. So he is tradable salary at this number. Maybe they package him with another guy and bring in like a higher level star to pair with some of these guys. Obviously, Jalen Williams has not had the greatest season either, coming off of his wrist injury. So there's a lot of optionality. Obviously, they also have a bunch of guys on like mid-tier contracts that are pretty movable. They have a lot of depth on this team. That was a lot of the logic of re-signing guys like Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, etc. to these solid value contracts. Eventually, one day, they are going to move off of those guys. But in the meantime, they have a really deep team. We'll see what happens come playoff time. Just rounding out the rest of the performances, SGA had 30, Chet 15, Cason Wallace came off the bench in this one, had 13 points, 26 minutes. They opted to keep Aaron Wiggins as the starting small forward in this game. And that knocks out the Thursday game, so let's head on over to the 9 Friday games, January 30th. The Lakers, they moved to 29 and 18 with a 142 to 111 decimation of the Wizards. Luka fortunately did not have to miss any time after his injury scare in Cleveland, falling off the court. Massive triple-double for him, 37, 11, and 13. DeAndre Ayton, huge game for him. Obviously, the Wizards are not the best interior defensive team. 28 points, 13 rebounds, 12 of 14 from the field. I imagine with Luka's 13 assists, a lot of them were just for lobs and easy shots at the rim for him. LeBron chipping in 20 points, 6 assists as well. Trey Johnson of the Wizards, as they dropped to 12 and 35, but Trey, he did miss this game with his sprained ankle, so they did start a traditional point guard, Cade Carrington, 15 points. Carlton Carrington, 15 points, 6 assists for him. Malachi Brannon, additional run for him with Trey Johnson sidelined. He had his best game of the year with 17 points, played 22 minutes, was 6 of 9 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, so maybe his rating will trickle up a few points if he puts together more games like this. Orlando Magic, they moved to 25 and 22 with a 131-20 win over the Raptors. Behind Desmond Bane's best shooting performance of the year, 32 points for him, 11 of 15 from the field, 7 of 10 from 3. That's been a struggle for him relative to other years of his career. Anthony Black added 25, Wendell Carter 23 for him, Paolo Banchero adding 20, and Jalen Suggs, solid game for him, 14 points, 10 assists in 33 minutes. Toronto, don't really have many notes for them. Brandon Ingram had 35 in this one, so let's just hop on over to the Celtics. They moved to 30 and 18 with a win over the Kings, 112 to 93. Jaylen Brown sat this one out, so Peyton Pritchard led the way with 29, 12-16 from the field, 5 of 6 from 3. Baylor Shireman got the start for Brown. He had 16 points, 5 rebounds, 6 of 10 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3 in 31 minutes. And Neemias Queta made his return after missing a couple games, had a double-double with 10 points, 15 rebounds against the hapless Sacramento Kings, who are also his former teams. A little bit of a revenge game for him. Kings, they dropped to 12 and 38. This is their 8th loss in a row. Domantas Sabonis, he was out, so Maxime Reynaud returned to the starting lineup. He had 14 points, 14 rebounds. Zach LaVine also returned to the starting lineup after being off the bench in the last one. This possibly was just due to Sabonis being out. They need a little bit more offense, and obviously they can't play all of these. They have figured out that the Bulls formula does not work, which we're going to get to at the end of the video. A little more. Still more to talk about with the Sacramento Kings. Knicks, they moved to 30 and 18. They got their 5th win in a row, 127 to 97. Jalen Brunson, 26. OG with 24. Josh Hart with 20. And Karl Anthony Towns, 14 points and 20 rebounds. Second consecutive 20-rebound game. 6 offensive boards for him. He only shot 5 of 12 from the field in this one. So his his scoring has been a little bit of a concern this year, but he has stepped it up on the glass over the last couple of games. and that was 127-97 over Portland, if I didn't mention that before. A lot of blowouts on Saturday, or on Friday, I should say. Portland, they dropped to 23-26. Denny Avdija struggled in this one. Obviously, is still dealing with feeling the effects of the back injury that he suffered. 11 points for 14 from the field for him. Shaden Sharp led the way with 26. Duop Reith out for the season with a stress reaction in his foot. So I put in my notes that this could lead to him being salary dumped, as the Blazers need to create roster spots to convert CD Sissoko and Caleb Love. Well, as of about an hour ago from when I'm recording this, he actually was traded to the Atlanta Hawks for Vit Krejci. And I keep alluding to this with the Kings. I might as well just talk about it now if you guys are watching it all the way through. Keon Ellis and what's his name? Dennis Schroeder, they were traded to the Cavaliers. I'm going to break that down in a separate video, which is why I haven't really gone, I haven't talked about it yet in the video, but I just want to mention that for you guys. I'm not crazy. I felt since we're doing like a 3-day breakdown, I'd rather just dedicate a full video to that trade. And I'll box in the Krejci move as well, so we can talk about 2 trades in one video. Pelicans, they moved to 13-37 on the year with a 114-106 win over the Grizzlies. They have been playing a lot better since taking Jeremiah Fears out of the starting lineup. 3-1 over their last 4 games, with their only loss coming to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So Derek Queen and Sadiq Bey had 22 in this one. Zion with 21. Herb Jones, 16 points, 7 of 9 from the field. Trey Murphy, 8 points, 2 of 14 from the field, 0 for 7 from 3. He is ice cold right now, but they will take the wins. Memphis, they dropped to 18-28. Cam Spencer and Jaren Jackson Jr. leading the way with 16 points. Going back to Phoenix, they moved to 30-19 on the year. 30 wins for the Phoenix Suns. There's a lot of people out there who thought that was how many games they were going to win this year, period. 126-113 over the Cavs, ending their winning streak. Brooks had another solid game, 27 points, averaging 30 points over his last 4 games. The team is 3-1 over that stretch, so he's been extremely valuable this year, maybe one of the most underrated players in the NBA. Jalen Green also made his return after missing. He came back from his hamstring strain and then tweaked it, and they just wanted to hold him out for a little bit. They were cautious, so he missed about a week. He is back, though. He had 11 points in 16 minutes off the bench, so he was effective. Cavaliers, they dropped to 29-21 on the year. DeAndre Hunter led them in scoring with 17 points off the bench. This ended up being his final game in a Cleveland uniform, so at least he went out on a high note. Mitchell and Jalen Tyson with 16 points in this one. Tyson essentially made Hunter expendable this year, as he's really established himself as the starting 3. Hunter was basically a $25 million backup at that point. So that's essentially why they moved off of him, which also saved them $60 million or $50 million in luxury tax. Denver, going back to them, 33-16 now, 122-109 over the LA Clippers. As mentioned before, Nikola Jokic made his return. 31 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals for him in only 1 turnover as well in only 25 minutes, a little under 25 minutes, which set the NBA record for nobody's ever had that kind of line, like a 31-12 rebound game in under 25 minutes before. So Jokic picking up right where he left off. 8 of 11 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, 13 of 17 from the free throw line. He averaged a free throw per minute practically in this game. Jesus Christ. Jamal Murray, 20 points and 9 assists. Watson adding 21 as well. And then Tim Hardaway Jr., he's ramped up his scoring over the last month or so, 22 points off the bench. Clippers, not a ton of notes for them. They dropped to 22-25, so this ended their winning streak. Harden leading the way with 25-9, Kawhi adding 21, but Just not enough against, obviously, the Nuggets are a beast of a team when Jokic is healthy. Brooklyn, they moved to 13-34 with a 109-99 win over the Jazz. Take that. You can't out-tank the Utah Jazz ever. Yegor Doman, he made his return in this one from the one-game absence, and he started this game at the 2, interestingly enough. 25 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists for him. Got the start next to Nolan Traore. Traore, 7 points, 6 assists in this one. Danny Wolf got the start as well. 14 points for him. Michael Porter Jr. sat this one out because, of course, they're going to try and out-tank the Jazz in this one because, of course, well, I'll get to the Jazz in literally just a second, just to round things out. Cam Thomas also, he's been in and out of the lineup of late. I guess they decided to play him because he probably hurts their chances of winning. He did have 21 points off the bench in this one, but yeah, the what's it called? The Nuggets, the Nets, opting to run with their young guns in this one. Geez, Traore's not even in the rotation. All right, so I got to work a little bit on the Nets. I want to get him up to like a 74, 75, and then probably drop Tyrese Martin down to a 74. Should solve all the problems with the Nets rotation at the moment. Utah, they dropped to 15-34. Lauri Markkanen out again due to quote-unquote rest, even though they haven't played in 3 days. So, yeah, obviously they are tanking, but karma's a bitch. Keontae George sprained his ankle in this one. He did have 26 points, 7 assists, played 32 minutes, was 9 of 11 from the field, 7 of 10 from the free throw line. So he had a really great offensive game against the Nets rookie backcourt. But yet turned his ankle, and he might have to miss a little bit of time with this one. They do have some depth to make up for it. Collier and Walter Clayton Jr. can definitely play, a higher workload and stuff. But still, it's unfortunate to see. Kyle Filipowski also got the start, 14 points, 12 rebounds. Whenever they want to lose a game, they will typically play him at the 5. Cody Williams also made his return in this one. Nondescript line, but I have been curious to see when Svi Mykhailiuk will end up taking like a bench role. Svi has started every game that he's played this year, but really anytime, like they always find a way to start the young guys by just acting like Lauri Markkanen or Nurkic or whoever is like quote unquote hurt. They are not. They're just intentionally. They're very strategic with when they play those guys. Detroit, they moved to 35-12 on the year, 131-124 over the Golden State Warriors. Cade, 29 points, 11 assists. Jalen Duren, 21 and 13. We already touched in on them, so let's go on over to Golden State. They dropped to 27-23. 8 players in double figures. Curry leading the way with 23. That knocks out the Friday games, so let's go to the Saturday games. January 31st, 6 of those going back to Charlotte. They moved to 22-28 with a 111-106 win over the Spurs. 6th win in a row for the Hornets. Brandon Miller, 26 points. LaMelo, 16, 8, and 8. Colin Sexton, very efficient, 21 points, 7 of 8 from the field, 5 of 5 from the 3, coming off the bench. And then the San Antonio Spurs, they dropped to 32-16, but some interesting lineup news for them is Harrison Barnes came off the bench for the first time in a decade. Devin Vassell started this game at the 3, and they opted to keep just Julian Champagnie at the 4. So those guys had 13 points each, while Barnes had 11 points in 25 minutes in his first bench game since he was 23 years old. Victor Wembanyama, he struggled in this one. 16 points, 6 of 15 from the field, did not record a blocked shot. Dylan Harper led the way off the bench. 20 points, 9 of 13 from the field in only 23 minutes, although it does seem that he was trading baskets with Colin Sexton to some extent. Indiana, we haven't talked about them yet. 13-36 on the year. They beat the Hawks 129-124. Pascal Siakam at center again and had 25 points. So this has really seemed to turn around their season. I'm going to give really until the trade deadline, I think, before I opt to change his position to the 5. We'll see. Definitely if Obi Toppin comes back from injury soon. If I recall, I do have in my notes that he was supposed to come back in February. So once he comes back, and they'll still have Jarris Walker at the 4, then I think I will move Siakam over to the 5. But I just want to see what they end up doing at the deadline with some of these guys. But Andrew Nemhard, he had 26 points, 10 assists. Aaron Nesmith adding 23, and then Jay Huff. He played 31 minutes in this one, so I don't think that his time in Indy is over by any stretch. He did have 16 points off the bench, still playing a key role for them, so he could end up back in the starting lineup at some point. Atlanta, they dropped to 24 and 27. They are reeling a little bit. Jalen Johnson made his return from one-game absence, 33, 12, and 10. A huge triple-double that the Pacers were able to outlast. Zachary Risacher also made his return from injury. He had missed about 10 or 11 games. He got the start in this one over Corey Kispert, who had since been acquired and was starting games over him. 7 points for him, 22 minutes. Kispert back to a bench role, was still effective though, also played 22 minutes. He had 11 points. He's probably the better player overall than Risacher. We'll see if I don't think there's much of a demand for ever since the Trae Young trade. Risacher has more or less fallen out of trade rumors, so I don't think that they are looking to move him at the deadline, but it still is possible. Okongwu was still out in this one, so Mo Gay got the start. He had 15 points as well. Going back to the Sixers, they moved to 27 and 21 on the year with a 124-114 win over the Pels. Joel Embiid with 40 points in 39 minutes. And we got some news on Paul George, suspended for 25 games for failing a drug test, which he says is related to a mental health medication that he was taking. I need more additional information on what was in said drug that triggered the failed drug test, or what that drug was. He's out until March 25th against the Chicago Bulls, when there will be 10 games left in the regular season. So ultimately, another lost season for Paul George. He's really, that contract that he signed with Philly, not really paying dividends for them. At least he's not injured, I guess, and he'll be able to, still work out, etc. In the meantime, he could focus on this podcast for the next 6 weeks, but they don't have to worry about him getting any nagging injuries heading into the playoffs. I guess they'll be able to manage that, but they of course still do need to manage their record heading into the playoffs. So Kelly Oubre, he's got a clear path for minutes now. They are going to continue to start Dominic Barlow, it would seem. Barlow was back in the starting lineup in this game. Oubre had 19 points, 10 rebounds. Worth noting that Paul George's suspension actually does affect the Sixers' trade deadline plans for sure. Because of his suspension, his salary is actually going to come off of the tax bill that the Sixers have. So that actually, and it's like $5 million of which $5 million in salary that gets shaved off their tax bill. So that actually brings them only a $1.25 million away from ducking the tax altogether. So rather than dump like a rotation player, which is something that they were considering, somebody like a Drummond, for example, or a Kelly Oubre, they could dump a minor player now, like maybe a Trendon Watford or an Eric Gordon would be a great example of this. I believe Kyle Lowry has a no trade clause, so he's or just has no trade veto rights, I guess you could say. But Eric Gordon waived his as part of his re-signing for the 1+1. They could move off of one of those guys and then duck the tax, because obviously they do need to open up a roster spot in general so they can get Barlow. on a standard contract, possibly Jabari Walker as well. So they are going to look to dump at least one player, but the quality of the player that they would be looking to dump now is a little lower than it was before, just because George now gets them within striking difference of the tax. So, hey, it actually worked out for the Sixers in a way. The Pels, they dropped to 13 and 38 with the loss. Sadiq Bey with 34 points. He's been awesome this year. Trey Murphy, 19 points, but only 8 of 21 from the field. He has been struggling a lot with his shot over the last week or so. Zion was quiet in this one with only 11 points, while Embiid dropped a 40 piece on them. Going over to Chicago, they moved to 24 and 25. 125 to 118 over the Miami Heat. Kobe White, Josh Giddey, and Vucevic were all out in this one. Vuce out for rest after playing 37 minutes in the previous game. So Patrick Williams, he got the start at the center as Jalen Smith also sidelined. So they didn't have any centers in this one. They went centerless against the Miami Heat. Williams at the 5 had 15 points, played 34 minutes, probably his best game of the year for them. Buzelis chipped in 21, and Isaac Okoro added 20 as well in one of his better offensive games of the year. Miami, I guess I should mention Ayo Dosunmu. He got the start at the point guard in this one with White sidelined, and he responded with a season high 29 points. He's been awesome this year. Another player that has come up in trade rumors as him and Kobe White are going to be unrestricted free agents at the end of the year. So teams would be at least looking to acquire the bird rights of those players. Bulls probably not likely to keep both players in free agency, just given how they've kind of built the team. They do have Trey Jones team under team control, $8 billion team option is pretty good value, and then Josh Giddey obviously is at least penciled in as the point guard of the future. He's on a pretty solid deal, although I wouldn't necessarily want to lock myself into that level of mediocrity over the long term. But hey, Chicago, they certainly seem to love mediocrity. Miami, they dropped to 26-24. Norm Powell was out for this one, so Myron Gardner got the start, and he responded with 12 points, 11 rebounds, had 2 steals in 23 minutes. So very nice game for him. I probably need to get a rating update in for him. Kel'el Ware, only 3 minutes for him in this one. No injury, was benched by Spo after some bad defense. Bulls also went centerless the entire night, so maybe wasn't the greatest matchup for him, but certainly he is in the doghouse in Miami, and that's may spell the end of his tenure there, as the trade deadline is in a couple days. We'll see what happens there. Minnesota, they moved to 31-19 with a 131-114 win over the Grizzlies. Ant 33, Julius Randle 27, McDaniels 20, Naz Reid with 20, Gobert 16 boards. They have been the most consistent team in the NBA this year. Memphis, they dropped to 18-29, starting to slip out of the play-in picture. But Ty Jerome, good news for the Grizzlies. He made his season debut, got the start in this one. 20 points to lead the team, 6 assists. So really good news. They signed him to be this level of player. And obviously not showing any ill effects coming off the injury. 6 of 12 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, 6 for 7 from the free throw line, played 19 and a half minutes in this one, so was very productive. Whether or not he ends up sticking with the starters, we'll see what happens with Ja Morant. Obviously, the Grizzlies are extremely crowded in the backcourt if all of these guys are healthy, but it was just good to see Ty Jerome back, and we'll see what happens in the coming days with the Memphis Grizzlies. But Spencer, he came off the bench in this one, had 5 points, 5 assists. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Santi Aldama were both out, so they ran with a 4-guard alignment where Vince Williams, who I have at point guard, was essentially the power forward in this one, as they started him next to Coward and Jalen Wells and Ty Jerome. They went small to match up with Minnie's size. Obviously, it did not work. Worth noting, G.G. Jackson, who probably should have been the starter at the 4 in this one, had 19 points off the bench. He's playing a lot better. I do need to get a rating in for him. Houston Rockets, they moved to 30-17 on the year with a 111-107 win over the Dallas Mavericks. Led by Amin Thompson with a near triple-double, 21, 8, and 9 for him. He had 5 offensive boards. Alperen Şengün, 14, 14, and 7. 6 of 20 from the field, so he has struggled a lot with his shot over the last week or so. That's probably going to knock him down to a 90 when I revisit him. 6 offensive rebounds, though he has... the Rockets in general have ramped up their offensive rebound activity with Steven Adams out for the year. Dallas, not really many notes for them aside from Cooper Flagg still continuing to pour it on. I'm like actually trying to get him up to an 86. Again, it's a long year. Some of his his subpar games from earlier in the season still factor it. Again, it's an 82 game season. The way that he's playing right now is better than an 85. But the way that he played earlier in the year was nowhere close to an 85. So it's all balancing out at the end. I imagine he'll probably finish the year at an 87, 88 if he continues pouring it on at this level. We'll see what happens if some of these guys come back from injury, like Kyrie Irving, etc. And then that was that knocks out the update, or the recap, I should say. We got through all 3 games, all 3 days of games, 23 games we just crunched, and I'm going to end this video now and then compile some more detailed notes for the trade breakdown of the DeAndre Hunter, Dennis Schroeder, and Keon Ellis trade, and then also the Vit Krejci trade. And hey, maybe something else happened while we were recording this video. I'll let you guys know. Thanks for sticking with me this year. Hope you enjoy the content of this video. Again, there was a lot of... I think the only rating change that I made was the Cooper Flagg. I gave him badges and stuff. Obviously, I was doing a little bit of catch-up on the games this week, but also my focus has been... I'm going through the 2K update, but also adjusting player heights and weights and stuff. I finally found a source for all that stuff that I can rely on for... the heights and weights. So like with Donovan Mitchell, for example, you'll notice his whatever his listing is on like NBA.com, which gets used everywhere. Those numbers are all extremely outdated. 2K also updated like player heights in such a way that like doesn't actually make sense, because like they're still listed at like they shaved 2 inches off of Jarrett Allen from 6'11 to 6'9, but then even in the team's like media reporting, Jarrett Allen, for example, is listed at 6'11", 250. So I have been restoring a lot of things like that. And then anytime you adjust a player's height, it actually adjusts their wingspan. So usually when I'm updating a player's height, I also have to go into the player and then adjust their wingspan. Basically 5 points equals 1 inch of wingspan. So that is something that I've been, some of these teams have like players with, like I think on the Cavs, for example, I had to adjust the height of all but 2 of their players, something like that. So I've just been, as I'm going through the official update, I am also just updating everybody's height and weight. So it has been a little bit more, even more methodical of a process for me than usual, but this should, it makes things more accurate. For what it's worth, I do base my strength ratings off of the heights and weights. So for example, Mitchell, I knocked him up to a 75 strength rating as a result. So 6'3", 228. This is actually something that we're going to talk about in the Keon Ellis trade, for example. Like he's with this the amount of strength that he has, also his wingspan is huge for a 2 guard. That's why he's been playing 2 guard despite being only 6'3". When you compare that to say Darius Garland, who's 6'1", but only a 6'5" wingspan. That's why he's a point guard and why Mitchell is a 2 guard, because he can play a little bigger defensively, why they can get away with playing Sam Merrill also. Like, Mitchell's essentially he plays the 2 guard, but he essentially has like a linebacker, small forward type of body. So this is something that might factor into the Keon Ellis trade discussion a little bit. I just wanted to notate that that's what I've been doing and why there weren't any like real. I didn't touch on the ratings too much this week, just because I've been touching on. I've been updating these for all of the teams because I think it just makes everything a little bit more realistic. Thanks again, guys, for sticking with me. I just wanted to explain that, what's going on with the videos, not just recording box score stats and parroting them at you. I am doing other things that don't necessarily reflect in overall rating discussion, badge changes, etc. Some of the stuff that I change isn't always worth discussing. It's usually just a minor, like, intangibles, boost here and there, whatnot. But again, I will see you guys later today, as I'm going to talk about the trades now. I'll see you in a bit. Peace.